Woke up this morning expecting it to be pretty hot, and this insanely dense layer of smoke blew in last night. We actually could see it. There was a dark line across the sky just like that. It was blue sky and the smoke cloud blew in, and that sun is blazing hot and it can't even penetrate that smoke cloud. Cool. So this morning Hannah has to take off and head home, go back to the real world. But we wanted to goof off. She brought all this wood up with her on her last trip with her ICF workshop, and we haven't got to play with the sawmill at all. So we're gonna drag one of these chunks of cherry over there and slab into it and just see what we find. What'd you get? Nice. That would make a freaking cool clock because of that.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of cherry is that? Do you know?
It was a Bing.
A Bing cherry.
Bing.
Wow. Very cool. Do one more?
Yeah.
That is pretty. Ooh. Check it out.
So sexy.
Right? Isn't that pretty? Touch it.
That's so beautiful.
Do you think we can learn how to make cabinets out of this?
I don't know.
We have a shopsmith.
I have no idea how to make cabinets.
We can do it. We have a planer and saws and routers.
My thinking in the box mind thinks you need to mill square pieces of like cabinet size, but I know that you can laminate and stuff, so.
Thank you, Anna, for the wood.
You're welcome.
And for inspiring us to take a break from the house and play Sawmill.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Had to get a couple
good for the mind.
Yeah, I get a couple bugs worked out with the Sawmill.
This would look great with a latte mug on it, I'm just saying.
Right?
Well, it's been quite the morning. We're getting a pretty late start, but that's okay. We were really hoping that we'd get through the summer without having to inhale this stuff. Pretty toxic air right now, but there's work to be done, so we're gonna put in a decent day with the daylight we have left, and we're going to see if we can finish this plumbing system. So we're ready to rock and roll this week. I lost my hat, which I'm really sad about, so guess I'm wearing this hat and it's black, so what can you do? Before we finish digging our trenches, we're double checking all of our measurements, and I had a little bit of a freak out moment because we have a pretty small bathroom for the garage. And my original thinking is you only need a toilet and maybe a sink in there. We've decided to add a shower because we don't know when we'll be living in the main living level, and we weren't worried about building codes too much. However, we are trying to build this to code, so in deciding where to put your placements, you do need to know exactly more or less where each fixture is going to go.
Yep.
So we just pulled up a little PDF of bathroom layouts to make sure that you have enough clearance from the toilet to the wall, from the toilet to your sink, from the shower to the wall, things like that, and we're good. But those are things that you want to check, and it's hard because you think, oh, the bathroom's not going to be done for a few months, but when you're in the dirt, you have to make those decisions.
Yep. Everything has to
And that's why this is mentally exhausting, because some things you don't know or you don't want to figure out, but you have to before you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, we're roughing in the plumbing. It has to be exactly where it's going to go. It can't be, I mean, it can be off by a smidgen. Like if the toilet's 1/4 of an inch too far from the wall, oh well. But if the toilet's on the wall, problem. Now you get to frame in a cubby or whatever. So, and then there are minimum clearances. That's what she's saying, is there's minimum clearances to everything to be within code.
Right, and there's a reason for that. I don't know if you've ever been in a bathroom that there's not quite enough space between your knees and the wall. You can just use your imagination, but these clearances are for a reason. You might just find that the bathroom's weird and you don't know why, but there's a standard, and I think a lot of it does have to do with human ergonomics.
Yeah, and following standards just is good sense. I mean, you might, I don't know, it's just something to go by. Like, we don't know how far a toilet should be from a sink. I don't know.
Well,
Just
it's kind of
not
like
too
there's a
close.
reason most counters are like 2 feet.
Yeah.
Cabinets
36
are
inches.
this much. You need this much space between your counter and your walking space. You need this much space from the door to the bed, things like that. We've all lived in houses that are totally against how the human body works, and it's annoying. We're trying not to do that.
Remember the house that we lived in before we came here? We were
yeah.
remodeling this house. And part of what we wanted to do was update all the doors because they were all kind of just fugly and they had holes punched in them and stuff from the previous tenants. And we went to replace the doors, and every single door was a different size. One was 24, one was 22, one was 25, so we bought standard doors.
The doorknobs weren't even in the same spot.
No,
they were all in different heights.
Every one of them was a different height.
Yep.
So the whole house was like, oh, this won't fit. Oh, this won't fit either. Like, nothing was standardized. Not that you have to follow the rules, but it just made replacing the doors impossible. We had to like custom cut every door to fit in the hole, and then like custom cut the knob.
The stairs were so stupid that you couldn't even get a single mattress up there, so they had to put in a Superman door to get furniture upstairs. And this whole house was not built to code whatsoever, and we paid for it every single day in awkwardness.
It was just it was a poorly built house. Whether it was to code or not, it was just poorly built. And if they'd have just even reasonably tried to follow standards, whether it was to code or not, just simple common sense standards, they missed it by a mile. So anyway, we're trying to keep it tidy.
Gray spray paint kind of trips me out.
Yeah, right. Like
it looks just wet or something, but sometimes you use what you got. Ain't nobody open in a small town on holiday.
Oh God, no.
Jesse's wearing pants today.
I'm already hot.
I'm about as hot as I was.
It's worse. It's better than getting sand in my knees.
Yep,
though.
Anna's knees look terrible. What's funny is my knees, like, they're fine. Ready for glue?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Twist.
It's good.
Okay.
So let's set this back in here. This gives us a reference. 6 feet, 7 1/4. I go nope behind me. Trim my legs. 77. You need to add 3 inches, so it needs to be 80.
Okay. Crap. Did I just cut a
4 inch.
4 inch? I thought it was a 3 inch.
It is a 3 inch. I don't know where you got that 4 inch from.
Oh, that sucks. I think this was the piece I cut. What the heck? I'm so confused. Oh, I'm an idiot. This must be my piece. 5'4". Okay.
We in? Are we in?
Yep. Is it level happy?
Yep.
Okay. If you remember in our last video, we had too much drop, so...
Oh jeez, this pipe's all bowed.
Oh,
So
crap.
it's like totally deceptive
Okay.
what its drop is.
Well, in theory, a 4 foot level should...
Yeah, but it's crowned like this, and I don't know how much. Like,
I do see that, yep.
Look at that.
It ain't just
Look at this.
lumber.
Look at this.
Yep, that could be half an inch right there.
Yeah, it could be. What to do about that? That's a good question.
That looks pretty good for her P-trap. So
Should be close.
nice thing about over here is
Yeah,
that
that's
we don't
pretty
have
good.
to trench very far. We're over there. It took quite a while.
Yeah, when you get to this side of the building, everything's getting basically
Yep.
almost into the foam. Hopefully it's close. We're trying really hard. One thing we've spent a tremendous amount of time on is keeping the pipe out of the concrete. Because anywhere the pipe touches the concrete, it's going to thin the slab. It's just not desirable. Which is hard because the amount of drop we have is right on the nubbin. So we have to be really, really precise to get the slope and not compromise the slab.
We do a lot of checking the tops of things to make sure we're under our slab or even with our slab. Once again, the laser level is earning its keep. I was just commenting on how it's really challenging to document a lot of this stuff because there's a lot of minutia and problem solving.
So what we're looking at is in order for this to be compliant, there's certain factors. For example, the length of pipe that comes off of what's called a terminal, which is anything that comes off of your main line. All that dictates is that you have to have a clean out. So what we were looking for in just talking was the shortest path to achieve the plumbing objectives that we have. And there's like four or five different ways we could achieve the plumbing layout. Except when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, you could set yourself up for problems. So we really want to have a floor drain right here in the bathroom. And they have to sit exactly where they have to sit. There's not a lot of discretion because this needs to be at the top of the slab. End of story. So the slope of the pipe coming out of this to the drain is what it is. There's not a lot of discretion there. But our shower drain, on the other hand, is clear behind me over here, quite a ways away. And so if we were to make this the primary terminal and then Y off of our floor drain, we run the risk of making our shower drain too high because it is dictated by the slope of the floor drain. So we're just kind of talking through some of these problems and looking at options. We're not really restricted too much. We just have to look at the most efficient way that, you know, puts us in compliance, I guess. And I think that's frustrating to document because we talk about this stuff for 20 to 30 minutes and we move fittings around and look at it and it's just boring. But once we figured it out and we put it all together, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
We love to document that part.
I think there just comes a point where like documenting every little thing gets exhausting. And this is not a how-to channel at all. This is just an our experience channel.
Ready?
Yep. Do you think which Super Mario level do you think we're on? We're not on level 1.
Oh no.
I think we're like
In this
we're
home already.
we're barely getting to the finish line. We're barely jumping on the flag.
Yeah.
Like if we could jump on the flag, we're happy, but we haven't found the hidden beanstalks yet. We haven't found out which tubes to go down to fight Bowser. Like,
Yeah. Hold this up when you're done. 16 1 3/4. Right on the money. So let's glue the elbow fitting on first.
see.
Don't cover my line.
I'm not gonna cover one.
Kind of see why I like compression fittings. If you screw it up, you know, take them off and fix it.
Yep.
And glue fittings, sucks to be you. Now we're making some progress.
Yep.
5
Look
hours
at us go.
measuring.
It's because the sun went behind the trees.
So it's kind of like everything, though. You spend forever
gonna do
measuring
this
and
one
cutting
first.
and whatnot, and then you spend like 10 minutes gluing. Okay, and then I need to make sure this is plumb.
Can you help twist?
That's pretty
That's
good.
good. Okay, good. So I cut that piece. What did I do with it? Good, come in. Okay, good. Ah.
Sorry.
Okay, good. What lesson did we learn on the temporary water system, Melissa? You gotta hold the pipe together.
The pipe. I did learn that lesson.
Otherwise it pushes out. Don't cover the line, whatever you do.
Is it in all the way? Yep. Next, we get to measure the location of the shower.
This is what I'm looking forward to the
A
most.
shower. Yeah. So we need to measure the location of that drain, right?
Yes, of the P-trap, yep.
Okay.
So what's that say? I think it's 11, 10 and a half. It's the same as the toilet, right?
11, 10 and a half, yep.
Okay, and it's what, 1 feet 4 from the wall?
Yep.
Okay. Needs to come out here.
That's pretty good.
Okay, and then I need you to check the 11, 10 and a half on the other side. There. Okay, so we're cutting off 48 inches. Let's actually make that 47 and 7/8. So if you take off 3/4, you're going to be at 47 and an eighth, or 47 and an eighth.
Oof, that's pretty dang good.
That's pretty good. And 11 feet, 10 and a half. 11 feet, 10 and a half there.
Nope.
Let's get closer.
That's a little too much.
Has got just some final touches to make on a video for this evening, so she's gonna jump out and I'm gonna keep working here. So what we're working on now is we've got to get this Y in for the mechanical room floor drain, which is a matter of positioning the drain where we want it, which is predicated by the fitting here. So this kind of has to go here, this goes there, like that. I guess if you did all this in a software, it would probably be a lot easier, a lot less thinking, just measure and cut. In this drain, I'm pretty sure we want to go in the middle of the room, just so that it doesn't interfere with anything, because we're gonna have radiant and water heater and a bunch of stuff in this closet. Code dictates that if you have a terminal longer than 5 feet, it requires a clean out. So obviously you'd like to avoid cleanouts if possible. We do have a cleanout on the floor drain, so it's not a big deal, but why run longer pipe runs than you need to? So this Y dictates the fitting position. I've got this fitted over where it would intersect with the floor drain, and so we need to make a few cuts to get this stuff all positioned correctly. This can be particularly frustrating because you think you've got everything positioned exactly where it's supposed to go, but you're off by just the tiniest amount, and suddenly things don't fit. Uh-oh. Looks like my timer didn't go off soon enough. That or the hot tub's leaking, one or the other. Looks like the hot tub might be leaking. Yep, not quite full yet. So Alyssa's concerns were valid. Looks like because tub wasn't full, the wood started to dry out. So now the tub is leaking. Fun! This is what happens when you don't have time to maintain all of your toys. So looks like we get to keep adding water to this guy for the next couple of days. If you don't think the heat on our property does damage to a lot of stuff, this poor hot tub hadn't even really been all that empty, but I mean, it was probably what I think Alyssa said, it was a little over half, and that's how quickly the sun hits that wood and
starts destroying it. Alyssa and I made a pact to each other that during the house build we would hardly take on any additional projects. I took on pilot school, she took on master gardeners. We both agreed that before the house starts, we're done. Cut it off. We didn't start a garden. We haven't even had time to hardly run the sawmill. That's why we kind of farted around with it this morning. This is all we do. We wake up and work on this stuff and pass out, and we still feel like we're getting behind. So poor hot tub. We'll get her back in working order. That's the good thing about those tubs, is they're fairly forgiving. So she'll soak up moisture and get working again. But I think Alyssa and I really struggle because we don't have chickens, we don't have farm animals, we don't have children, we don't have all this stuff that requires babysitting. We always joke if we had something that was living, we'd probably kill it by now because we just don't have time to babysit stuff. And the hot tub, we haven't been running it because we actually confirmed today that this has been the hottest summer on record. Hottest summer on the record. Following a winter that was a 20-year winter. Really? Just horrible timing on this house build. So it turns out our griping was valid. It turns out it's just been brutally hot. And so that for that reason, because it's fire season, we have not been burning the hot tub. Could we? Yes. By law, we could burn the hot tub because it has a stove in it. But I'll tell you how to really make your neighbors angry right quick and in a hurry. Make fire during fire season. Big no-no. Just because you think you can maintain it doesn't mean you should do it. So we've chosen to respect our neighbors, their property, our property, and not use the hot tub. But still requires upkeep and maintenance because of water evaporates at these heat in this heat. And we've been gonna clean it. We're gonna clean it. We were gonna clean it. We're gonna clean it, and we haven't. So time to top it off with water. Anyway, rant over. But now you know, when you're building a house, you can't really do much else. You eat, sleep, and breathe it. Well, it's just about the point in the day where you can't see. So I'm gonna try to get this last piece glued here, and then we should be pretty much down to this small section tomorrow morning. We have an inspection. Well, we have to schedule an inspection. We were hoping to have this all ready by tomorrow, and turns out it just took a lot longer than we thought it would. I'm gonna finish this up this evening, probably check in with Alyssa. We've got a few chores that need to be done. I've got a family member in town passing through, so I'd like to stop and maybe have breakfast with her. And then we've got to run to our plumbing supply store to get a couple of fittings that we need to complete our water main. Not the sewer, but the water. So that's about it for this evening. The smoke has been something else. Oh. And that slab Anna and I were working on this morning, I didn't get it finished. So I guess I got to finish that tomorrow. I need to get it finished and stickered so that it doesn't warp on us.